Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Healing from Within with me, your host, Keryn Rose, and I do love to say that because it means there's somebody else in my playground. I have invited the gorgeous Miss Kate De Jong to come and give us her perspective on what healing from within means to her. So, welcome, Miss Kate.
Thank you, Keryn. Lovely to be here with you. And we were both commenting on the fact that we're wearing matching shirts today.
I know. And as I love to say, I just love the way the universe works. And it's a colour that we both wear very well in my opinion. Very well. So, look, Kate, I know what you do in the big wide world, but give our listeners a little bit of a rundown of what it is that you do to fill your day. Do you have a job as such?
I am self-employed. So, yes, I have a job, but I work for me. And
yes,
I help people like myself who don't fit in the corporate box to find their contribution and to make their way as an independent business owner. So I help people start and grow thriving businesses in a nutshell.
Okay. And I know the backstory for you. You know, we're good friends. So I'm going to jump straight in and ask, what does the term healing from within mean to you? Because I feel it's going to be quite pertinent. So please share.
Yeah, well, healing from within is doing the inner work to heal your past wounds and all the things that we accumulate, all the little sort of woundings we accumulate over time result in these behavioural patterns and these belief systems that end up affecting the way we show up in the world. And it became clear to me in my mid-30s after sort of 10, 15 years of real suffering that I had a lot of work to do on the inside. So I was very driven to make a difference and do something impactful, but I was what you could probably call a wounded warrior. I was out there trying to, heal other people and I was an environmental sort of engineer, so I was trying really hard to make change in the engineering space around our water infrastructure and so on, and got really disheartened by what I thought was a lack of political will and or people not putting enough importance on the environment. And to cut a very long story short, I went through a series of devastating events where I sort of was brought to my knees and realized that I couldn't help anyone or anything until I helped myself and healed myself. And so that started a journey about 10, 12 years ago of me really going inwards and doing the work to try and heal myself first so that I can then be a much more powerful vehicle to help create positive change in the world.
It's interesting. And again, I'm going to talk without giving too much away from your backstory. It's when I know, I'll speak personally, when my energy is flowing, I can feel it. And when it's not, I can feel it. And I'm sensing that things happened in your life, probably from an accumulative perspective, that you couldn't ignore the feelings anymore. Is it fair to say that you felt you weren't being true to yourself and yet you were pushing through? Is that a fair comment?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what it was like to feel good. I didn't know how my body felt in a flow. Like, what did you say when you're flowing, when your energy's flowing?
Well, when you feel good, it's an experiential thing. So and it's individual to you. So when you're feeling good, hopefully you can find a point to be present in the moment. Go, God, I feel good. It might be as simple as, a nice glass of wine. You go, and suddenly in that moment you go, oh, this is good. And when you say this is good, it's everything is just lining up to go, oh, this is good. And likewise, the converse, when things aren't feeling good, you feel it. So I'm sensing at some point in your 30s, things were building up to go, the universe said, there's an issue here. You need to stop and recalibrate.
Yeah, and I guess I had always pushed through, so I wasn't familiar with the feeling of energy flowing and being in a positive state. I was just constantly in this chronically unwell state, but kept pushing through, because that's sort of what I've been trained to do. You didn't sort of express discomfort or emotion because you had to just push that down and keep going. Was sort of the upbringing sort of the environment that I grew up in. So I pushed down any feelings or any discomfort and just kept forging on, but obviously that's not sustainable. And it's like the hammer started out as with little taps, with health conditions like tonsillitis or just recurring chronic conditions and then the little hammer gets bigger and bigger until when you're not listening to the signs that your body is trying to tell you, you're out of alignment, your energy's not flowing, you're not okay. The hammer keeps getting bigger until eventually in my 30s it was a sledgehammer that just sort of took me out,
and literally you were physically down on your knees going, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and that's sadly the point a lot of us get to before we realize there is another way, and you actually, your body is a finely tuned barometer, isn't it, telling you in any moment how your energy system is. But I think our generation just wasn't trained to listen to that, or if you could listen to it, but you had to just sort of ignore it and push on.
Look, yes, we've come from an era, and I do love the fact you've put me in your generational group. Thank you very much, my love. You've just taken a few years off me there. That awareness of, dare I say, manning up, and you can do this, particularly when you present as a strong woman, which you definitely are. There's an intelligence that runs through you that, dare I say it, for our generation, women often were, their intelligence was not acknowledged. It was a case of, you're a woman, and that pigeonhole, that put you on a space, or put you in a space, and I was going to say on a shelf, but it pigeonholed us. And to challenge that often challenged that parental generation. And again, I'm going to say a lot of the men, anecdotally for me, were challenged when women were strong, because it was almost a surprise. So yes, I can understand that, locking away any of that emotion. Now, I was blessed. I had a role model of a mother that allowed me to bring through such emotions, to the point where my father would often say, you're just like your mother, you're so emotional. And I'd go, cool, but yes, the emotions would flow almost too much, but that was my journey to learn to manage. And I feel that we all choose this environment that is our family for us to do our learning, and sometimes it's just bloody hard. It really is. And then you get to a point, as you've said, you're on your knees and you're going, there's something else. I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
So what did you do to shift?
Oh, it was therapy. I mean, I really started the deep dive probably in 2011 or 2010. And it was counselling, just someone helping me talk through the extent to which I'd neglected my own needs over the years, and reconnecting me to my true desires, I suppose, and giving me permission to turn towards those as opposed to suppressing them constantly, because I'd sort of chosen this path that, as you know, wasn't what my heart wanted, but I thought it was what it was expected of me, and tried so hard to live up to those expectations that I felt were expected of me. And I guess the therapist was very good, very intuitive, and I worked with her over many years. And she just started planting seeds in my mind that there was an alternative, that there was other work that I could do. And I was so fixated because I'd invested 7+ years into my university career and my credentials, and, still had HECS debt. And you think, I've invested so much in this career path, I can't possibly just step away from it. But she could see that it was making me ill, like this life that I was living, and just started saying things like, trying to reconnect me to what were the things that I did love doing, and what was my zone of genius, what was I naturally good at, and could I do more of those things. And it had to start really simple. Like in the beginning, the homework was just to, in the middle of my busy day as a consulting engineer, she'd make me go and get a cup of coffee somewhere that I enjoyed and just sit for half an hour on my own, which in the beginning I thought, that's impossible. I can't do that. I've got back-to-back meetings, and so she was just helping me see that I had the power to create these small spaces in my day that were for me and that were nourishing me. And that's where it started. And that was such a huge hurdle for me, because I'd never put myself first before anything else, like work and what I perceived as my obligations always came first.
The power of permission is what I'm hearing from you, Kate. Mm-hmm. It's understanding we are allowed, for those listeners, I'm doing air quotes here, we are allowed to put us first. Mm-hmm. Because again, generationally, and again, I'm going to say often, because we were a woman, a female, you're not allowed to do certain things. And that statement came from those that were above us, that we were told we needed to respect. They knew more than us. All of that stuff that sets us up to be almost forced down a certain pathway. And you started to wake up to the realization that, you're allowed to go, you know what? No, my turn. I'm going to take time out. And then getting comfortable with that shift.
Yeah, and realizing that it actually helps your energy and everything else. So I think learning to understand that when you honor yourself, the positive effects, outweigh the negatives. So that half hour has so many good impacts on your psyche and your body. And I guess I was in a different situation to you, because my father was probably the opposite to yours, in that he was a real feminist, and he had 3 daughters, so he probably had no choice. But he was of the mindset of, you can do anything you set your mind to. But that meant that he could see that, he thought I was good at maths and science. I could do them, but they drained me. But he thought, wow, you've got the potential to be an engineer. And I knew he really wanted that for me, because he was excited that I could do these great things in the world. But it was more, I just felt this pressure to be this thing that I could really see he wanted me to be. But it wasn't my truth. It wasn't my, happy place. And so he almost over-encouraged me, or do you know what I mean? And
again, for you in your era, to put engineering and women together was still relatively new.
Yeah.
Okay. And that would have excited him. And, absolutely hands up, you are very talented in, or probably gifted is a better word, in the science field and the maths field, yes. However, you are also gifted in the arts side.
Yeah.
And it's, look, I can remember at school I went through on a music scholarship, and, it's known that there is an aptitude link between the ability to operate well in the science fields and in the musics. And at year 10, by the time we were moving into year 11, we had to decide what subjects we were doing. The Maths 1-2, physics, chem, I'm saying Maths 1-2 ages me, meant that from a timetable perspective, those that had gone through on the music scholarship had to give up the scholarship, because the weight of the timetable went into the sciences.
Yeah.
And it said so much. And I can remember back then going, wow, how sad. that someone that is so gifted and loves is, in my terminology, being forced into the science field. And, I'm sensing from you, it's a case of absolutely you were gifted. And there was this desire to be able to fulfill Dad's desire. And, and off you, and you were very good at it. Again, that was there. But at what cost? Yeah. And this coming back to this healing from within, it sounds like physically your body just ground to a halt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a very gradual, slow process over about 15 years. But, and the healing from within to me it's simply about reconnecting to yourself and your true innate desires, isn't it? And what really makes you come alive as opposed. So and then I met you in 2018, I think, around that time.
Would have been around that time.
And it was funny. We could tell the listeners the story.
Please go for it. Go for it.
I'd actually been looking for a body code practitioner online, and emotion code, because I'd come across Brad. What's his surname?
Dr. Bradley Nelson.
Dr. Bradley Nelson. I'd come across his work, and I loved what I read about the body code and the emotion code, which is the modality that you incorporate in your energy healings, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And the matrix and how it helps you by process of elimination, really, isn't it? Get to the core of what's blocking your energy flow. And so I went onto the online directory and I found this lady in Perth, and her name was Keryn Rose, and she ran a business called Dancing with Angels. And I went onto Dancing with Angels website, and it was very flowery and lots of angels and fluffy talk. Yep. And and me with my left brain went, oh no, too woo-woo. So I didn't reach out and I ended up doing sessions with a lady in America, and I did really love those. But I could tell, I did 3 sessions, I could tell there was so much more I needed to do, And you and I happened to enroll in a business coaching program at the same time, and we ended up sitting next to each other in a room for 3 days. And then when your website was brought up because we were critiquing each other's websites, and I saw it was Dancing with Angels, I said, oh, you're the lady that I wanted to work with for the energy.
And I just thought, OMG, too much.
And anyway, that was the point where that was the start of your journey to understanding powerful marketing. And now look where you are with your website. I use yours as an example very often, and people land on it and just go, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Look, it's fascinating. I mean, what I love about them, firstly, was I just mortified because I was so in love with that creation. And it was something that I had created. It was my little babe. And it was just
really offensive, probably.
Well, I can't think of any other word other than mortified. However, that was me at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering now, and if I wasn't the presenter that was going through it. And this is how we learn. We have examples. And my lesson from that actually, Kate, is, Keryn, don't take things personally.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's such a big one for me.
Yeah.
Until I take my last breath. Keryn, don't take things personally, because I naturally invest so much of myself in everything that I do, that if someone doesn't like it, I think they don't like me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember, my website was equally bad, shall we say.
Actually, you know what? No, I don't. My focus is on there you go. That's something. That's very true. Mine, I can only remember mine.
Well, I was like you. I'd poured my heart and soul into my branding and my website, and it was all flowery, and it was called Whispering Heart. And then
yes, I can remember now.
And the coach asked me, who's your target audience? And I said, well, professional women like me. And they sort of pointed out very kindly that your branding is probably not appealing to those people right now. And so I'd made the exact same mistake that you made. Well, mistake. It's just a learning, isn't it? It's part of the journey.
It is. You and I were sharing who we were for those that wanted to see. And we now appreciate the power of intention and the power of having some boundaries, some guidelines. on the focusing. It's not unlike water coming down. Let's channel it in. Let's channel the water so it has more strength, more focus, more energy flow. And again, look where you've come. For me, for you, meeting you at that time, I could see the internal conflict because you presented such, excuse me, you've got a doctor in front of your name. That for me says so much. However, it's not all of who you are. And this is life. Understanding that, again, I'm going to say with my hand on my heart, we know what makes us feel good and we know what doesn't. That to me is not rocket science. The rocket science may be the presence of the moment. And, I've been on a similar physical journey of being drawn to a halt that took years to get there. But then one day, everything changes. So, Kate, what are you doing now from a daily perspective? How do you fuel this knowing that you have this ability to heal from you? And what do you do on a daily basis?
It's a good question. Well, I was lucky to have a session with you on the weekend, which helped a lot. So doing those regularly definitely helps me to stay connected to who I am and release, stuff that's real. I mean, you and I met up last week and you suggested I should have a session because I think my spirit was only 78% in my body or not even. And I'd really had a few difficult experiences that had really disconnected me from myself.
Yeah.
And so firstly, starting there, I find I'm still yet to learn how to do that myself, to bring my spirit back into my body in the way that you do for your clients.
But see, for example, you like yoga, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So if you're talking about daily things, I do
Indeed,
yoga.
yeah. What's yours to keep you connected with you?
Yeah. Yoga's a big part. I do that every morning. So I have a little 20-minute routine that I do without fail. So
that's a non-negotiable?
Yeah, that's definitely non-negotiable. Yeah, I do. I wake up. The first thing I do when I become conscious of being awake is be grateful. I list off between 5 to 10 things I'm grateful for.
So you're making use of what Abraham Hicks refers to as those crucial 17-odd seconds of magic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I used to write them down, but I've gotten too lazy for that over the years. I just mentally, and in my feeling, that has the same effect. It's simply shifting your energy to a higher frequency, isn't it, of gratitude and
it's still energy that with intention is focusing the creation of today. So absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so I just lie there and mentally think of the things that I'm grateful for, and usually there's so many, even though you're going through hardship or whatever, there are so many things that you can find to be grateful for. So that I feel my energy shift into sort of a positive state. Then my sort of morning ritual is I have a warm lemon juice, a really big warm lemon juice, and I've done that for probably 20 years. I just love. Again, maybe it's the intention, but in my mind, it's flushing my organs and just getting ready for the day.
There's a lot of scientific knowledge around such a simple procedure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So you've done your gratitude, you've done your lemon juice, you've done your yoga.
Yep. Then I do the yoga.
They're powerful things, honey.
Yeah, well, part of the yoga is a 5-minute energy routine, which is from a lady called Donna Eden, the energy medicine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that's a series of physical things you do to your body. Like one of them is just rubbing your hands along the finger meridians, and there's a sort of 10 to 12 little things you do to your body, including tapping, crossing your energy, because the way she explains it, our energy, when it's optimal, it's crossing over.
Crossing over, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and so there's an infinity symbol I do, and different
Yep.
things.
Donna Eden's energy medicine is very, very, very powerful. Again, a lady ahead of her time.
Yeah.
And it's acknowledging that we as human beings are, and I'm going to say first and foremost, energy. And understand that impact. I mean, talking to you as a scientist, you understand the concept of energy, and you can talk about the quantum field until the cows come home because you have a scientific awareness of it. I simply say everything's right here, right now. That's where the magic is. And whilst it's everywhere. That's now, and I just go, yeah, that's the world. You're able to explain it in language that left brains go, yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
And the particle stuff and, all of that. That's, that's so you. However, what I first loved when I connected with you was the awareness I sensed within you of this spiritual world. And, things were still woo-woo back when you and I met. It wasn't so as acceptable as things are now.
Yeah.
And when I created Dancing with the Angels, it was out there with the woo-woo stuff because that's where we all were placed. And yet anybody that follows a religion wouldn't necessarily be described as woo-woo.
No.
And yet I didn't see myself as any different. I just chose not to lump myself into some structure around this magical awareness and magical acceptance of all it is.
Yeah.
So look, Kate, as you know, you and I can talk until the sun rises and then sets. I am going to ask you to share with our listeners one action that they may like to consider adding to their daily routine, because what I've gleaned from you is your ability to heal from within is directly associated with your connection with yourself. So, and I'm sensing that your practices first thing in the morning are there to strengthen your connection with self.
Yeah.
So share one idea that people that are listening to our gorgeous conversation can contemplate adding to their daily to-do list to strengthen their connection with themselves. What would you suggest?
Well, there's so many, but one thing I love to do is just go and sit outside with bare feet and put my feet on the ground and then just bring the energy from above all the way down through my body down, and then I feel it go all the way down into the earth, and then I draw it up through the soles of my feet. And yeah, if I'm in a place where I'm really tired and I need to keep going for the whole afternoon, I find that because I have a tendency, like a lot of people, I think, to be in my head and beyond, like really out, I know that I personally need to connect and ground myself. That's really important for me. So that's something I recommend.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I love it on so many levels. Knowing you and loving you the way that I do, absolutely. You are so comfortable in your head. You just are. Now, that's not to say that your heart isn't communicating with you. It's just the microphones are up in your head, and that's the voice that you're hearing. So often the work you and I do together is simply clearing out the connection between your heart and your head, and suddenly you're sensing that energy is flowing.
Yeah.
I also love the idea of reminding people to ground. I'm finding it actually personally very challenging to stay grounded at the moment. And I'm very aware and can feel it because, and correct me if I'm wrong, we are a closed circuit as a human being, and we are a positive field. That's the energy that's us. Mother Earth is negative. That's the charge that she gives off. And hence, when we have that physical connectivity, without us having to do anything else, suddenly our energies become more balanced. It's like Mother Earth just goes. Now, maybe that's a physics thing that, things have to even out. You can simply go and touch a tree. You can touch a leaf on a plant, and physiologically, things just go shh. because we have all that energy building up within us, it needs an outlet.
Yeah.
And rather than yelling, screaming, punching, kicking, speeding in a car, having a physical action that can discharge all that built up energy, Mother Earth just goes, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And it's, it's that simple, and you're so aware of it. Like, I love bringing down from the heavens, going down to the earth, just because that's not a cognitive thing, is it?
No, that's what really gets me into my body. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're open to it. There is that intention within you when you go out to do that, that it's going to come down, because you can't separate heaven and earth. Again, they're different perspectives of the same space.
Yeah.
And you're connecting the two. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, the work that you and I have done over the years has really helped me, and I love the way you explained it to me once, that I used to just get triggered by everything. And it was like I was walking around with like 10 open power sockets on my chest, and people could plug in, and I'd just have this massive emotional reaction. And certain people knew exactly how to plug into my power boards and get a reaction.
They knew which socket was theirs, which would give the most response. Yeah.
And then I could you and I did, the work that you and I did together was just gradually, as you described it, covering them up one by one. And that's really how I felt, because the first time I remember being around a certain person that I had a lot of trouble staying grounded with, and then they were saying the same things that in the past would trigger me, but there was just no emotional reaction. I could hear it, and I could observe it and go, oh, they're saying that thing again, but just not get that emotionally charged reaction. And that was the most peaceful feeling, to not get rocked by other people. And I think that's, if we talk about true healing from within, that's back to what I was saying in the beginning. It's where you heal your past wounds so that they don't cause these triggers or reactions anymore, so that you can, in my mind, you're healed when you can stay peaceful and calm in all situations. And
I was actually thinking, yes, we've gone back to your first comments of wounds, because you go and stick your finger in an open wound and, excuse me, it's going to hurt. Once that wound has physically healed, the finger can't trigger. And it's interesting. I'm working on using the word activated rather than triggered. Because again, the world I grew up in, triggering has a negative response. There's a cause and effect thing, but it was used in a negative way in my world.
Yes. Well,
so I now use the word activate, because for me, activation has a positive energy to it, and there's a purpose. And as you know, there's a purpose in everything that happens in life, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It's there for us to go, that's interesting. Hopefully, emotion not there. So, that's interesting. I've noted that. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah. I love that activation. Yeah. Because that, to me, every single activation is feedback, isn't it, about something that's unhealed?
There you go. Yes, it is. And it also reminds us that we are responsible. And you know what? We are the only ones responsible. If this is going to be sorted, it's mine to sort.
Yeah.
And I must be honest, sitting here from the time that you and I met and the way the friendship has grown, the shift within you to claim that spiritual side of you, let's call it, okay, without taking away from the gifts that are in the left side of your brain. I just love the way that it functions, and I love watching your eyes as it's functioning. The voice that you've allowed to come up in that right, I'll say the right, connected to the right side of your brain. And therefore you as a presence, your light is simply shining brighter. Let's just cut through the crap. Your light is shining brighter.
Yeah.
And you know it. And again, I can say you feel when your light ain't, kind of like when we met last week, and when your light is.
That's
and
right.
this is, this is what a lighthouse does. When a lighthouse is shining bright, it keeps the ships away from the rocks. All right? And every person on this planet is a lighthouse. And everybody's light is shining as it needs to right here, right now. And only each individual can work on, my light isn't shining as bright as it could do. What can I do about it? And some might say, can't be bothered. Go, cool, all right. And others go, yeah, I'm going to do it. And you've done a lot of work, and I love it. I've loved watching you claim this ability to heal from within. It serves you very, very well, my love.
Yeah, and it's a never-ending journey, isn't it? You never get there. It's just the infinite onion, the infinite onion layers.
And yet, if we choose to see life as an adventure rather than a journey, we can experience the excitement of what we're doing. A journey infers a destination for me. And, my destination, well, as a soul, even when I leave this mortal coil, chances are I've got a little bit more left in me before I stop coming back. But an adventure, it's kind of like, or even an experience.
Yeah.
Right here, right now. I love it. Oh, is there another experience? Oh, is there another experience? Or another adventure? As a little kid, I don't think the word journey is probably something that you would use. You wouldn't use as much with your boys as the term adventure.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, there's more presence in the idea of having an adventure. And I'm loving having an adventure with you, young lady.
Thank you. And it's not linear. I think that's what adventure implies, whereas journey sort of implies A to B, doesn't it? But an adventure is up, down, forwards, backwards.
It just is. It's kind of like, what's going to happen? It invites you to stay open, stay curious, to go, oh my goodness, what now? What's next? Whereas a journey, can infer a lot of planning, things out of your control, just all of that. Maybe that's for another yabba dabba do when you and I get together again.
Yeah.
Would you come? I would like to ask, will you come again and have another chat?
I would love to, always, Keryn. Yeah, love chatting with you.
Oh, gorgeous. Well, look, honey, thank you very much for joining me in my little playground, as I call it. And thank you to all the listeners. Please, I'd love you to share your comments on this conversation I've had with Dr. Kate De Jong. And I'll get Kate's contact details to put in the show notes. And as I love to say, until we meet again.
May your day be full of the magic that is you, wherever you may be. Everything in this world is energy, and that includes you. Remember, you are the most important person in your world, and you came into this life with all the tools you will ever need to support your healing from within. Let the healing begin.